All right, howdy, folks. Welcome back to Technical Difficulties with Brian Knight. All right, there we go. No intro tonight. Another fun stuff. All about business now. So here we go. We'll give a minute here for some people to file in because my my alerts take a little while to get out there. So I know it takes a minute, but I'd like to thank you guys for taking a moment of your precious time, even in replay, to be a part of this special family here. And many of you have figured it out and realized that this is more than just your average YouTube live stream, okay? The subjects and material we talk about here at this channel is very disturbing, so it's good that you have a solid foundation, a solid spiritual foundation on which you can fall back on. So this stuff isn't as disturbing as it could be for most. Anyways, thank you for being here. You guys are precious to me, and let's get started here, kind of slowly in a different fashion here, while people kind of roll in. Since there's no intro here, I got the loop playing here, and you can see that here we are, September 21st, 2024, the Equinox, and you got your loop playing here, and you can see another good sized CME coming off here with something hiding in the background. And then let's see, also last night I had a show all set up, ready to go, and physically passed out from exhaustion, I guess. Sometimes I guess I have to get some rest every once in a while. But anyways, this is last night's from the 20th with our long duration CME going on over here, something feeding constant energy to something going on over here. All right, so that was yesterday on the 20th. And then this Halo CME, whether that's heading our direction or not, we'll find out here in a few minutes. But so there's this event that happened yesterday with this full halo and your long duration CME up in that area. You can't really go through this one frame by frame because it's all in the motion. So I'll let that sit there for, let me pull this down just a little bit better. I'll let you guys look at that motion for a second. Hello, you guys. Thank you for being here. You're filing in. You can see your little dark patch going on over there as well. So that was yesterday's activity. All right, nothing too spectacular, but we do have a full Halo CME. Hopefully it's heading away from us, but we'll find out here in the tracker in a minute. And then that was yesterday, since we failed to do a show last night. I'm sorry, you guys. I get everything all set to go. Say a prayer and everything ready for showtime, and then next thing you know, I'm waking up going, whoa, what happened? Okay, so there we go. There's your September 21st with your bigger object there, and then we're going to kind of pause right here. You can see this dark region right back up in here, okay, where there's kind of missing plasma. Over on this side, it's this dark ring right there. And you can see this brighter ring of plasma hitting the spheroid back here, spreading out across the surface of it right here, the front side of it, as it passes over the sun. You can see our rays splaying out, bending, curving, going around. Let me just kind of get the last little bit of that button here so we can continue. Whoops. Boom. Boom. Let's go. Got some more. Okay, it's also the motion that your eyes catch better. So I'm going to speed this up just a tad bit and then watch it pass by the sun and see how the sun kind of reacts to it in a little quicker time. Maybe just right there. Go one click slower. Okay, one more pass there so you can see how it's either passing by the sun or the sun's passing by it, but there's a magnetic interaction. You can see that ring of plasma trying to spread out across the surface of that. So we'll let that play for just another second there. Yep, pray for everyone, Eric. It is getting bumpy. Okay, that's why we do this show, so you guys will understand why it's getting bumpy, when it's getting bumpy, and how to hold on. Okay, how to get ready and hold on tight. So there is your little activity for today. Now let's come on over to space weather here, solar ham. I'll do a quick little solar report here. Not everything's updated because it's been the weekend, but here's our solar flux index at 158. We're up 4 points. It's not too bad. Our sunspot number count in the green at 117. We're only up 4 spots. So that's good. Area is still in the green, so that's good. I'm taking a little peek in at our, not the disk, the sphere. Everybody calls it the solar disk, and it keeps people thinking that it's just this round two-dimensional disk. This is a sphere. Okay, center disk, center sphere, 3831. 3833, this is a complex little structure here. Positive, negative, right in a row there. So you got blue on both sides of a red on both sides of a blue. So there's a good little configuration that to watch out for. 3828, just positive. That one has only one pole. Just rounding the limb here is 3834. We'll watch that one carefully. Okay, let me back on out. We'll slide on over and dip. And see how fluxed we are. Goes X-ray flux, that is. Okay, so last night, really, you saw that little, we saw the duration event that we saw there, and pretty smooth, not really representing the actual activity we see because this is in between us and the sun. So a lot of this activity is off at different angles. So there's your semi smooth looking bumpy ride. Okay, and then we also have a little peek into the future here. No? You don't want to see the 22nd? Okay, fine. We'll just refresh it and do it anyway. And you can see the remnants of this event moving out right there. Let's capture that really quick here for a second. Catch this opening frame. Bingo. Okay, right there. You can see the remnants of our object still kind of moving out there. Oh man, we were out driving today along the foothills and it smelled like sulfur. Boom. You can see a little moon, little satellite trying to tag along or trailing along with it there as it moves on out. It's only a few frames. It's the tail end of this event. But you can see our little moon here dragging out this area of darkness. There's no plasma right there. It's taking all the plasma and just leaving it dark right in there because, well, these things absorb light. All right, so there's our event going into the future right there that we'll look at later on tomorrow. All right, now let me zoom back out. Okay, here we go. 3-day geomagnetic forecast, all clear for the next 3 days, which tells me hopefully that halo CME is not heading our way. Okay. Coming back over here, our sunspots 3828 beta gamma and 2825 beta gamma, both are stable. Okay, I think they had their event kind of activities finished and now they're going stable again. Here our auroras are looking pretty weak. KP is way down there. We had a quick little bump, but nothing even over 4. It's just a tad over 3. Nothing to write home about, so pretty quiet. That's good. I will take quiet all day long. Back in the good old days when everything was quiet. All right. Over here, I want to. Whoops. It's not really opening up, but they're showing an increase in plasma density right here. Now that we got it pulled up, might as well play it. This uptick in the density. Now there's no CME coming. You see this little band of denser material, but that when it gets way up here, this density, that's almost like having a CME strike. That's some pretty dense. We're gonna see something coming here. It's going to gradually increase and increase. Look at this, too. It's stereo A is the same effect. So, an increase in density coming, not so much velocity, just this thicker band, probably coronal hole. Or it could be from one of these events coming our direction. And we're going to have to do the old-fashioned way and come back to this, do 3 days ago for the say the forecast for the 22nd would be whatever came off the sun on the 19th. So we'll leave this one loaded up for our forecast later on. Yeah, see that thing? This could have effects on our weather right there. That's a big one, dude. That thing's huge. And that was back on the 19th, which would affect the 22nd. So don't be surprised if we have an unexpected geomagnetic storm tomorrow. Okay, this is why. This big object right here retains a lot of the radiation that it absorbs. Maybe the CME went out at this direction when it was passing by, but the rest of that is going to pass like over the northern hemisphere, above the Earth, and affect the northern hemisphere more than the southern, probably. So, I pray I'm wrong. Hopefully, I'm wrong about all this, or maybe this thing's taken just a different trajectory in its magnetic field, or any of the trailing little moons, they have magnetic fields too. So, any of those little trailing moons or the big object, main object itself, interacting with our magnetic field will cause a geomagnetic storm. Okay, unexpected one. Okay, and it would be on the 22nd because this came off on the 19th, and I stick to the 3-day rule of thumb, especially when they're moving this velocity at normal. That's not even our speed. I think our normal speed is 8. No, it's not. It's 12. There we go. So that's the normal speed that we're used to seeing a 3-day arrival. And that's about the normal speed we see our 3-day arrival objects move. So I would, 3-day time frame of any kind of interaction with this big thing in our planet, possibly. Okay? So, possible enhancement tomorrow. We'll see. Might not interact. Might be too far off, or I pray that it doesn't. Okay? I don't want to see any more enhancement. We don't need any more geomagnetic storm absorption. First, you just did the tracker. Our article, real quick, solar activity continues at low levels with only minor C flares detected, and all of the visible sunspot regions appear to be stable, with AR 3828 being the most likely region to produce an M flare, but only 10%. Now, geomagnetic activity is also expected to be at quiet levels over the next few days, so widespread displays of auroras will be unlikely in the short term. Okay, stay tuned to Solar Ham for the latest space weather updates, okay? So you saw on the tracker, they're not expecting a CME coming our way. You see on the geomagnetic forecast, they're not expecting anything, and I hope it stays this way, okay? I pray that thing misses us by a mile and we have no unexpected geomagnetic storm or proton event, okay? If we all of a sudden we can have an unexpected D-layer absorption event or a proton event, this thing could light up, or our auroras could light up unexpectedly. Well, no surprise here at this channel if it does happen. Okay. But that's on the 22nd, and now we are entering the 22nd. So let's move on over here. Auroras love equinoxes. Today is the first day of the northern autumn. That's good news for sky watchers because auroras love equinoxes. Researchers call it the Russell McPherson effect, and at this time of the year, cracks form in the Earth's magnetic field, opening the door for solar storms. Okay. When we absorb a bunch of this energy down to the core spins inside its outer shell. Both of those heat up and expand, score in the shell, grind on each other, slowing down that dynamo. When you slow down the dynamo, it makes the core appear to rotate backwards. It's not rotating backwards, it's just slower than what we're expecting to see, giving the appearance from our perspective of it going, you know, backwards compared to what we're used to seeing. So any kind of slowing down would make the core look like it's going backwards, but it's the spinning inside, that core spinning inside its shell, much like a little electric motor that propagates out this electromagnetic field. And that's what protects the planet. Okay. Now, the equinoxes, we have a lot of this solar activity, this stuff right here, happening in March and September, both times of the equinoxes. Okay. A lot of this energy over the past years has been coming from the sun via this activity. Then it spreads out, it impacts the earth absorbs all this energy, right? And then the core and the shell start grinding on each other, and that makes the earth's magnetic field not cracks but weaken. And they call them cracks, but there's like magnetic field lines where this stuff enters. It enters through the magnetic field line, and at this time of year, your magnetic field is weakening because of all the CMEs that are hitting it, and these weakened areas allow the energy to come in through those, your magnetic field lines, cracks, whatever they want to call them, opening the door for solar storms. Okay, so when we have an impact of a CME, okay, we get this grinding effect, and we get a KP effect of say 7 or 8, like we just saw the other day, right? Well, we took on an impact. It absorbs down to the core. Takes a couple. It used to take a couple of days, a few days. It seems that gap is closing in as far as impact and grinding results. So the gap in between the core and the shell is tightening up, and any kind of small impact will have other effects. So now we're seeing our sun impacting the core, causing a weakened magnetic field, the cracks, allowing for more energy from these storms to penetrate deeper, causing the same process all over again. The more energy comes in, the more the core does this. So the weakened field causes more energy to enter. So we're getting this effect. Okay, and the Russell McPherson effect, they've seen it happening during this time because it always, September and March around the equinoxes is when those objects kept interacting with the sun. Now it's all the time. Now we're having passes 4 to 5 times a week. That tells you how close we're getting. Okay, so we did that. I want to do this. Sorry, I'm bouncing around here tonight. But your approach at comets seen from the ISS. So not only are we having that, we're having other stellar bodies drawing closer. And maybe they're drawing closer because we're drawing closer to these bigger objects. Those things are coming into this. Some of these sun divers seem to be heading right for the sun until one of these things pops out next to the sun, and you see it hit that instead. It looked like it was going to head to the sun, but there's a bigger gravitational mass out there. Okay, so now we're starting to see a lot of comets come in, and then we're going to inherit a second moon. You guys all know about that, right? Well, go find out. Now, our Schumann has been down for quite a while, all right? And that's unacceptable. We need some kind of report or activity, any kind of we can do. So over at Mr. MBB, here's the other Schumann report, but this one is upside down. Okay, but what I want to do is slide over here. On the side here, you can see our Hertz bands. You have to tilt your head totally to the left to see that this is September 21st at 1800. This from this line to this line, this was from 12 to 1800. This was from 6 to 12 to 1824. Okay, so they're in chunks of 6 hour bands, okay, with dates there. So our latest 6 hour band is up here in this top corner here, and this is September 26th. The hours from 0 to 0600, okay? In these hours, here's a bunch of these grinding events. Now, let me get you really quick over here. You can see right here it says 10 hertz at this little level right here. Let's come down here where there's a chart sitting next to it. So here's 10 hertz. Our planet is 7.83, which would be just a tad bit lower, which would make it this little blue line right there. This first blue line running along there is our 7.83, okay? And over the last day, over today, you can see all these grinding events. Bam, 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 bam. Now, this chart is upside down compared to what we're used to. Instead of 0 being at the top and 40 being at the bottom, 0 is at the bottom and 40 is up at the top. And there's your 7.83. And look at all the bam, boom, boom, boom. So it's been a roller coaster ride today. See all this, boom, 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 boom. Pressure building, relieving. We'll have another volcanic event, and then pressure builds up again. Something relieves it. So going all through today, we've had quite a little bumpy ride, and then already going into September 22nd, you can see some even stronger spikes right there. Okay. So indication that pressure keeps fluctuating down below and we keep grinding on and off. So if you're having this like emotional roller coaster ride and there's nothing dramatic going on in your life, it's just regular life and something in the background is going haywire, well, this is why. This affects the animals, it affects the people. We all need a nice, steady 7.83. And you can see here, this one doesn't really show the weakness in the line that I need to see on that other chart. Little fluctuations in the coloration of that line tell you when the magnetic field is weak. You can see little dark areas as opposed to brighter areas all over in the background. The overall background, see how it's brighter in this area, a little bit darker here, a little bit darker on this side. You see here, those are indications of weakness a little bit, the darker overall background right here. So we're grinding, you see it gets darker in the background. Here, we're nice and strong, a few little pops and grinds or whatever, but then when the field gets weak, it's not glowing so strong in the background, like up in this corner up here. All right, so this, I wish we had our old chart back, but we're that's a Russian site, and we're probably not going to be dealing with the Russians. So there's your Schumann. Basically, all you can see on here, you can't really tell our continuity, but you can see all the different fluctuations, all the different spikes, very intense, very on and off, hit and miss. So, not nice and quiet like this, or, just totally out of control like that. Okay, so, but a little bumpy ride today. Okay, so now we're going to move on over here to the null school. I'll fix that a little bit. Let's see here. Maybe somebody will see it. Anyways, we're looking at our vortex structure and our wind patterns and stuff. And you can see how we got this flow that's coming out of the Caribbean, going up through the Gulf, and then right up through the country. You see this cold air coming down, smashing into this boundary line with the warm, moist air. Okay. And if you tilt your head to the right, you can see this eye, big old scar, but the nose and the smile is the wind down here. Look at that cat eye, weird type effect. And now that face is like smiling, looking over that way somewhere. Anywho, interesting. Here we got big old intense storm brewing out here. And you can see our storm pattern here is kind of taking stuff right up. A little bit's bleeding over, that cold air getting mixed into this, causing severe weather through that region. Meanwhile, it hits the coast, comes back down, comes out. We're going to start checking out our jet stream now because we're into equinox season. Okay, this is transition season. We're no longer all full bore, you know, summer or full bore winter. We're in transition season. So now our upper and lower jet streams are going to start to pick up in intensity and take over the weather a little bit more. So there's your lower jet stream right there. And you can see how some of this air is bleeding over the top of this ridge right here. And it will sneak in underneath. So when we do come back down to 850 here, you see we got this storm up here. Some air is going over, some air, most of it's going down and around, but some of it was sneaking up through there. But you can see this big old round structure right there. It's actually invisible, but there's like a hedge of protection right there. The only spot in the world that's not having severe weather. Everybody else is getting hammered. Okay, so now we're going to go over to our sandstorm report. Let me put that on real quick here. And we will do that. Now, coming on over to here, this is a little bad news. We have very intense sand right here, but it's not blowing off and coming out in this nice big old white, thick, dense plume, quenching the hurricane production out here. Also, you see this vortex of rotation right here. This could start feeding stuff out here. Hopefully it pulls sand out with it, but boom, boom. And we're already seeing one developing here that's going to come up through there. Also see more rotation out there. But our sandstorm plume, very intense here, but not reaching out very far. Okay, we need a bigger, stronger arm coming out there. Meanwhile, over here, filling in, getting denser and denser around this region. If they'd look up from slinging missiles at each other and check out their skies, they might want to reconsider what the hell they're doing over there. Oh, here, while we got this shifted, okay, you see this air current that's down here curling around? That usually cuts back at the equator right there. It stops and it doesn't pass the equator. But now the planet is being kind of, not planet, but it's all been pulled down like this now. So we've shifted that whole 5 degrees or 15 degrees. And now we're seeing our intertropical convergence zone that should stop here at the equator going further north up into that latitude. That's what it is now. And that's what it should be. Okay. So you can see the difference. I got it stuck on this, so I figured I'd take advantage of it while we got it. But this gives me a chance to give you a good example of how this works. All right, so your intertropical convergence zone, these wind patterns right here usually stop. They don't pass the equator. So pretend like that's not, this part over here is not there. All right, that's the way the pattern should be. And now it's like this. And this air, whoops, comes up from, there we go. It's about more like it right there. Now the air comes up from the southern hemisphere and comes up to this latitude now, and even higher over on this side. Okay, so your intertropical convergence zone has shifted. See it shifted over on this side too. Here, let me go in a little tighter and fix my wavy lines. This camera doesn't like that color too well, but you can see how our tropical zone right here, right where it should switch and stop at the equator, is still reaching north. Here's a good example. You see this little line right here is where it is now, as opposed to it should be down there. Well, I wish we would do it again, but all right. Anyways, there's that. Now we need to move on. Let's get on over to our SO2 report now. Take off the winds. And come on over to the country divided. As you can see, bleeding out on one side, SO2 emissions out of volcanic vents and other perforations in the crust on the left side. So, country divided. And, well, it doesn't have to be this way, but everybody insists on being insane. So I have to take a sip every once in a while. And put on the fire report. Okay, cool. Right now, not much up here in Canada so far. That's good. A lot of this activity has shifted further south. We're seeing activity right along here. In the Cascades, some SO2 plumes growing here, there. This little area concentrating. A couple little small spot fires around there, but nothing like, I'm looking for a main yellow dot in the center of a nice, good, healthy plume. Here's a little small red dot. You can tell that little fire right there from this plume. And we're seeing activity sneak down into California. And at first I thought a lot of this gas gets trapped in the valley, but when we put the wind on, you will see that it's not our wind patterns so much. We're getting new little sites that are popping up and causing little fires here. So it's not our wind blowing it around the state so much as the state is now having little perforations in the crust, little weak spots where the gas is coming out, sparking fires. You see this one over here, clearly a fire induced by a geothermal or SO2 emissions. When I say this gas comes out of the ground so hot, I want you to picture or wrap your head around vaporized magma that is so hot that it is turned into a gas, much like water boils and turns into a steam. Well, magma, being viscous, boiling, super hot, turns into a gas, and that gas is sulfur dioxide, and it comes pouring out of any little pores, weak spots in the surface or the crust it can find. Coming out of the ground, thousands of degrees hot, causes a spontaneous combustion around the venting site if there's any kind of vegetation. Not every vent site has vegetation. Not every vent site has a fire. But this is an issue that we're dealing with. Okay. Back to Cuba, Purple Island, Jamaica, very dark purple. You can see all of these islands right here. Each one has a SO2 emission site. When you steal the world's money and then you hide it on these little islands right here, don't be surprised if you see, they go volcanic. And we see over here more of this activity creeping on down. Come check out our fulcrum point, nice and purple and strong. This one looking pretty healthy tonight. That one weak, but the other two still still good, pumping along. A lot of SO2 coming out of that area. Our plume isn't so big coming out here into the Pacific right now, but you can see there's still dark purple color emissions, intense, strong emissions coming out of that region. Okay. It also helps keep the pressure relieved. Imagine like a bunch of little pinholes in a bicycle tube allowing air out, a bunch of little tiny slow leaks. Well, one little slow leak will eventually make the tire flat. A thousand of them will relieve the pressure at a much higher rate. And it purple being at a emissions density thickness, so stronger emissions, you're going to see more relief. So thicker emissions, more relief, keeping magnitudes down on this plate boundary right here. We've been lucky we haven't seen a 7, 8, or a 9 out in this region by now. Okay, so it's doing its job. These perforations in the crust have a way of venting the Earth has this way of its little system of venting pressure when it comes in, and if all these little holes aren't enough, well, then a new one will open up. So let's come on over, just check out Hawaii real quick. The Pacific Rim is much like a bicycle rim. It has a center, the hub of a rim. So there's your hub of the Pacific Rim doing its job on its SO2 emissions. Fairly decent there. Maybe it's a twist like that. Anyways, just making sure it's doing its job as we come on over here to China. In this region of the world, let's adjust for their time zone. Go. Okay, their emissions very strong come out of this region. Lots of perforations in the crust, and what's interesting about this is their emissions are so strong and intense that even when a typhoon hits and they have flash flooding, which usually causes blockages and no emission sites that we see, over on the east coast of America, does not hamper their emissions for very long. I mean, rarely do we see a little bald spot for a minute and it just goes right back to it. So even though they're having flash flooding and huge amounts of water, there's so much SO2 that it's able to penetrate through all that water. That's amazing. That's truly amazing. Anyways, this activity crept up north, up here into Russia, down into the Korean Peninsula as well. And then you have Japan, which is a volcanic island system in itself. Little emissions from the Kamchatka up here. Then we come on down to Taiwan. This is another fulcrum point on our plate boundary system, relieving pressure at this region. And it's been having, moderate quake activity. I think we could use a little bit more to relieve more pressure, but we've had moderate quake activity and SO2 emissions. So you combine those together, it's kind of regulating pressure like it's doing, I guess. Anyways, here, Philippines, a little strong one. And then look at Java tonight. Have you ever seen Java so purple and richly defined purple like that? I haven't seen that in a while on Java. And we used to have this little scale. Say if we had a 1 to 10 scale on this color chart over here, 1 being white and 10 being the black, I'd give that like an 8. Usually we're talking 6, 7. So that's the coloration that I'd seen before, where Java gets this rich, dark purple, and it's another relief valve. Got multiple volcanoes, huge SO2 emission sites, plate boundary with earthquake activity in the region. So it regulates a lot of it's like a relief valve kind of on the surface of the planet. Meanwhile, we come back over here, and you can see we got strong emission sites here all over Australia, except right in the middle. But then what I want to talk about, there's New Zealand, but is this little island right here with our 2 emission sites acting like like pinholes in a bicycle tube, relieving pressure at a small increments, but still not allowing pressure to build up too strong in that area. And when it does, we saw a third emission site open up on the tip. In fact, you can barely make it out. There's a little spot right there, but when we get a big push of pressure from down below, this third one will flare up in color like those. Okay, so the reason for this island, I keep pointing it out, is it's right at the beginning of the plate boundary system. So there's all your SO2 in a bag. And don't huff that, because that would be gnarly. All right, now back over to the oceans, the SSTA, and I want the sea surface temperature anomalies. Okay, whoa. Very intense, organized area right there. A big split in this area recently, a break off of this region, and then a big opening right here. So as we go into the equinox, into transition season, now there's not going to be this strong influence from the sun heating this, and we will see more cold water inundation just from going into that season. But then it's going to really define our hot water plumes. And when we got a defined hot water plume with a very defined cold water plume, we're going to see massive rotation here in this transition season if we continue with this, cold patch, warm patch division like this. Also, I want to point out up here, microquake activity along this island chain right here that we report on every night has kept pressure relieved in that area, and cold water is allowed to inundate there. When there's no volcanic activity on the ocean floor, cold water can get in there. But look at this area. It's hotter than this area. Coming on up, you see all these heat anomalies up here at the top of the world. We're going to be melting a lot of ice. So there's going to be a lot of more fresh water introduced with the salt water. It can break down the salinity in our Gulf Stream and cause an event of that too. Meanwhile, our triangular type structure out here is still kind of this triangle structure. The yellow part still kind of spreading out and getting a little broader an area like this. It's starting to fill in the triangle. If this is the triangle, well, we only have this little red triangle left to fill in. The rest of it, 2/3 of it, is getting yellow, and this other little third still in the red. But look at this. Off the coast here, we're starting to see the yellow this is a hotter temperature plume right here, hotter temperature plume, because there's a vent down there or some kind of, thermal product on the ocean floor. Let's say thermal product, because that could be gas, that could be water, steam, magma, other heavy metals, even cesium, stuff like that coming up. Okay, so there is your west coast. Also, let's just talk really quick about the Juan de Fuca. You can see right where our fulcrum point comes out, right to the fulcrum point of the Juan de Fuca. It's all blue, all cold water inundation starting to creep back into this area. Inside the plate is like from this point, it zigzags, zigzags, zigzags. So it's basically just this little bit right here of heat that's left inside the plate on the broken piece. But you can see cold water from the north reaching down, trying to connect up with this. As soon as they hook up, they can push this other out of there. We see SO2 emissions over here that relieve pressure, volcanic activity and stuff too helps, but you can see this is still kind of growing. All right. Also, let me take this off. Come back over here. You can see our structure over here is dissipated. We had this one big solid plume here in the middle that's dissipated. Up here, we still have this ribbon type, tearing away structure, dividing this whole blob up. So that's good. That thing's kind of breaking up. All right, now what I want to do is put on our wind patterns. And you can see now with these new heat anomaly changes that our conveyor belt structures being disrupted, which could be good because any kind of disruption in that conveyor belt could stop the hurricane genesis. But right now we're looking at these two, and they're still way out here. I don't think these are even going to come close to the Gulf. We're worried about this thing right here that's going to generate here pretty soon. Another storm next 7 days that's possibly going to lash this area. All right, so your conveyor belt over here has been discombobulated. It's multi-vortex now. We're going into transition season, but you still see that we have this flow that's coming from this intertropical convergence zone shift, the 5 or 15 degree shift here. I think it's 15 degrees latitude. Depends on what this map is, but I'm usually 15, I think. Anyways, that shift is driving air. That air isn't stopping and turning around. It's still continuing on up through the middle of the country. Now is when we get the clash of air masses. Can you see the clash? The cold air rotating, slamming down into warm, moist air. There's going to be gnarly weather in that strip right there. Yeah, get your popcorn, Amy Lynn. Get your soda. Kick your feet up. Here we go. A little late to the show, but that's okay. Now you can see how our thermal anomalies are still conducting vortex activity, conveyor belt structure type activity out in the Pacific still. This big long loop right here with stuff branching off of it up at the north, but your basic big long conveyor here, okay? And as I pull back, I'll just let that sit there. You guys can see hot air rises, cold air rushes in to replace it. So hot air over hot water, cold air over colder water. This hot air is rising, this cold air is rushing in to replace it, causing rotation. And you can see our heat masses and our cold air or cold water masses correlate with air masses, creating our weather right now. Our weather this whole summer, and since this since this volcanic activity is happening, is starting to take over our, in the summertime, the weather more than the jet stream does. This was actually affecting the jet stream. That's what was getting crazy. All right, so there's your conveyor belt structure there. And then over here, you see how it comes up above the equator, up to this latitude, even a little bit higher over here. And then just much like ours, gets sucked up into a heat plume. Wish we could do that shift right here. Give me the glitch, Lord. How do we do that? Jiggle it really fast or something? Oh, well. Meanwhile, heat plume, cold water, rotation. Heat plume, cold water. You can just see it's still correlating with our heat plume structures. All right. Now, one more thing before we get into our weather forecast too, I wanted to remind you we're going over to sea surface temperatures, your standard sea surface temperatures, not anomalies. Okay, remember there's a difference between an anomaly and a standard sea surface temperature. Let me take these winds off real quick because I want to talk about this area right here. The hottest waters on the world right now are in the Caribbean and right around the Gulf. Okay, so anything rotates in this area is going to pick up steam. Now, when this new low pressure develops and comes up here in the Gulf, everybody's still trying to detect the track and the strength and everything, and that could all change. That could be, other factors, geomagnetic enhancement from the sun could be an added factor. A passing object interfering with our magnetic field, which could induce that storm, maybe what causes that storm, a shift in its track could cause the track to, to aim it, actually direct it and guide it. You got to remember all this stuff that's happening now as far as like weather and stuff is spiritual realm warm. I just one of these days we'll never have wavy lines again. All right, but there's your hot temperatures in that region. So any kind of rotation coming through here, you can see right here in the coloration where our two rotations are. In fact, put the winds back on there. Okay, right here, right there, a goofy little smile. Two eyes, nose, purple smile. We don't want those getting into this hot water. So hopefully they track north, catch this, and get rotated out. Okay, they take the inside loop, and now we got vortexes that are disrupting that conveyor belt. It's a bunch of little vortexes now, so I have to watch carefully over there. All right, now we're done with that. What I want to do is go back to our standard or temperature anomalies. And we'll leave it right about there for our earthquake report. Now, let's hop on over to the USB GS. And we will, we're already set up? Oh, cool. Now, let's go into our deep quake region, Fiji area, and a 4.2 down at 551. Now, last night we had some quaking in this area, and it's going to be, we're going to have to do 7 days. Oh, man. 4.5. All right. There were a couple of deep quakes. Where was it? Right there. It was 6 something. Oh, wait. No, where'd he go? Oh, maybe they're lighter magnitude. We had a couple of deep quakes out here in this region yesterday that put some 5 energy at the surface. And we had, I think it's this one right here. No, right there then. There it is. This one right here on the 20th. This is the first quake we've had at the beginning of the plate boundary system in a while. And here's our little island that creates the slow leak effect. So yesterday we had a 4.7 in this region, and there was a bigger, deeper quake over here that was down at 600. Where'd that go? No. It's right there. Nope. There it is. This 4.8 right here down at 628. So yesterday there was this 4.8, which is a little higher in magnitude than we're used to seeing at our deep quakes. Normally a 4.5, so a slight uptick means a slight uptick at the surface too. So instead of seeing a 5 come in here, we have lower magnitudes because of the SO2 emissions out of this island. But as it came in, it struck right there. No. Yeah, that's it right there. A 4.7. So this relieves some of the pressure. It should have been like 5.2 or 5.4, somewhere around there. This reducing pressure, and our first little quake on the beginning of this plate boundary system. I want you guys to think of this as a big giant crack, okay? And this is where the crack starts. Okay, you see a ridge line growing, getting deeper, 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 deeper until it, boom, hits the bottom of the crust. And now we have a crack in the crust that's the end of it's right here. You get a crack in your windshield, you can see where the crack ends. Well, that's right there. And that's where your pressure starts to build and wants to relieve. That's the first little point of path of least resistance. And that's why we see our quakes enter right in this region, especially when their pressure is pushing up right underneath this whole area. All right, pressure bubble underneath that area the size of the circle I'm drawing. Coming up to the surface, first rumbles way down there at 628. And then pressure gets up to this level at the crust, and you get a 4.7, pushing out a bunch of SO2 as well. Okay, now I want to back out and go back over to your 2.5. Yeah, for today. Yeah, okay. Whoops, wrong one. There we go. All right, so the other day we had our little 4.7 right here that relieved a bunch of energy. We have SO2 coming out of here, so no quake in this region for today. Our deep quake was the 4.2. No deep quake here. We come up to this region. A little bit of activity we haven't seen in this region in a minute. 4.3 down at 69 is the around the base of a volcano. 4.3 down at 203, another volcanic island. This island, nice and quiet, but a lot of SO2 emissions out of there. We saw Java turn bright purple or deep rich purple, indicating a lot of pressure underneath it, right? So a lot of SO2 coming out, a lot of pressure, and it's not even enough. I'm sure we're having volcanic, eruptions here at Simera too, but we're also have a 4.2. Ooh, that's not the surface. Oh, it's on this wall. Okay, so this is a 4.2. It's a little bit deeper down in the crust than our regular surface quakes, but a lot of energy in that area not being, properly vented along the volcanoes here and thrusting up a little earthquake right here on this wall or deep down in that wall. If you push down through the screen, like took my finger, went down through it, way down under this island on that wall, there's three activity there. This is all one volcanic ridge, and that would be the flank of a volcanic ridge. So, volcanic or earthquake activity at a volcanic site. Meanwhile, very quiet through there. A quake up here we haven't had in a few minutes. 4.3 at the surface and a 4.9 down at 26. You know what we do with 4.9s here? Come on, give me a break. I'm sure every once in a while we do get one, but it's amazing how many fours there were this year as opposed to fives. And keep that yearly total down. Anyways, here we are. Fulcrum point, relief valve, 4.8, down to 28, right here, right deep in the fulcrum too, right in a little corner. That's where I like to see them, right there. 4.8, it's a good magnitude. We don't want to see too much stronger. I'll take 5.5, but nothing too much stronger that does a lot of damage and kills people. But the maximum pressure release that we can get without killing and doing damage. So that's roughly 5 to 5.5 in that range. And here we are, 4.8. I'll take that all day. That's a good little strike. Even though it probably rocked them and stuff, and everybody goes, how could an earthquake be good? That's how. Meanwhile, 4.5 down at 116. This volcanic ridge line we're seeing come to life. This inner line right here, all these little seamounts. Some of them reach the surface with real volcanoes. You got two that come in here to one. See, it's, one big one and it splits off right at the split right here. Right where your two like ridges would come together would kind of be a fulcrum point, wouldn't it? Or if you see how they tear away from each other, being one coming out this way and one coming straight down, well, they both intersect, or an intersection or convergence point or a fulcrum point. And look at that. What? Right at the tip of that fulcrum point is a volcano. A volcanic island. Basically used to be a volcano, and it pushed through the ocean's surface. On the flank of that volcano is your 4.5 down at 116 in this Japan region right here. This is a spot to watch now. Cool. Follow the yellow brick road. Wonder what's going on out there underwater. Shh. I'll let you tell your friends. You can go say, "Hey, look what I found on Google Earth or whatever Earthquake." Now up here, 4.4 down at 40. Again, these little volcanic. This is a ridge under here, so any kind of little seamount with pressure underneath it is a path of least resistance. Now we come up here, bingo, 4.3 down at 89. We'll do America last there with all magnitudes. Let's finish off. There were two quakes there. No fulcrum point quake here, but we do have one there. 4.5 down at 115. And last night here we had two quakes here in Iran. A 4.6 for tonight at the surface. Come here, you. I want. So, last night, we had these two quakes. Here we have this one tonight in Iran, a 4.6 at the surface. Last night, because I didn't do a report, there's a 4.0 at the surface and a 4.5, a little deeper at this almost little fulcrum point here on this plate boundary. See how plate boundary comes out of the water up onto land and then takes a hard left? Right there, that little apex point is pressure changes there, making a weak spot. That's your fulcrum point. It's a little deeper in that region because of the mountainous terrain, but you're looking at a 4.5 here in Iran. Now, last night, I wonder if it's still doing it. That would be so. I bet it still is. Here, let's come over to the chemicals real quick because I was going to show you SO2 emission sites from those two quake spots. Okay, here's Saudi Arabia. Here's this little peninsula coming out, the Gulf of Aden. Okay, and our Straits of Hormuz here. Just outside the Straits of Hormuz, there's these two SO2 emission sites. Here's the Strait of Hormuz. Quake. Look, it's pointing at this little peninsula, is literally pointing at where our quakes are, right? Okay, so we come back over to here. We take our peninsula. Oh, it's pointing at our SO2 emission sites, isn't it? And looky here, and there, and over here, and then up in there. Okay, all this area is breaking out with SO2 emission sites, and now they're having earthquakes there, aren't they? Maybe you think all this stuff might be hooked together somehow, and that there's maybe a connection that SO2 emission site, there are weak spots in the crust, and you're getting earthquakes at those spots. And okay, now I wanted to just point out those two because now we're starting to see a little uptick in activity in this area here. I thought there was two here. Yeah, there are. There's two quakes here today. One was the 4.6 at the surface and a 4.3 at the surface right there too. So two quakes today, two quakes yesterday. Gee, I wonder if there's SO2 emissions at that site. Shall we? Oh, you don't? You don't want to see if there's SO2 emission site? Oh, come on. Look, it should line right up, right? All right, let's go look. Boom, boom. And the third one should be where? A little bit. Oh, way over here off of this little bay in that corner. And there's your bay over in the corner. Somewhere around there, but not right on it. Or is it? No, not right on it, but pretty close. And don't be surprised you see more earthquake activity over there or even in Saudi Arabia. Okay. So then we come up here to Turkey. This is just in the last few days too. 4.4 there and a 4.1 there. So this region kind of coming to life over here in the Middle East. This is our fulcrum point. I don't count those. I'm counting this area right in here. Even that. Anything along that plate boundary right there. So now back to our regular report. And tell them about the weather, Tad. In lighter news, I think that covered the rest of the world. Now we can do our America quick. Oh, wait, down here. My bad. Plate boundary, fulcrum point, 4.4 at the surface. Our bigger quake here, 6.0. All right, down at 130. That could have been a lot bigger. We probably would have seen something 4.1 down at 148. This, what was the depth again? 130. It's an old Dead Sea here. Bunch of salt remnants there. So used to be water in that area. Water sitting on that for a long time along the edge would be a little fault structure possibly in there. So that's a new spot to watch. And 6 energy down at 130 probably relieves some pressure in that region. Maybe that's why we didn't see such a strong plume coming out. That could be wind patterns too, so we can't attribute that. But here, 4.4 at the surface, just outside the fulcrum. 4.4, a little bit up here. 3.4 is good. I'll take that. So all these little quakes all combined here relieved a bunch of little energy and SO2 emissions, keeping something in this area from going 8, 9, 10. Meanwhile, Cocos Plate had a 5.1 down at 75. Okay. That's good. Brand new quake just happened right now. 4.3 down at 154 here in Jordan, Colombia. You see these really abrupt mountains. It comes from flat, right? Really strong, abrupt, hard, jagged mountains. A lot of fault systems, a lot of fault plate tectonic bends. See where it changes direction here. So it doesn't want to change direction. It wants to go in a straight line. And when it gets backed up, it can't make this curve. It backs up, and now you see it backing up into this little inner fault little here, almost like a little bubble in between the two. There's like an inside curve and then an outside curve. 4.3 down at 154. Is this a little town in there? Oh, wow. There's a little city in all that jungle. Look at that. All right. I have to watch that little spot for a minute there, too, because a little different there. Quick magnitude check here, 3.4, 3.4. Okay, typical activity there. Now let's jump into America, all magnitude, and bust this one out. Thank you for being so patient. Hopefully you're learning a little bit along the way. Okay, so we left off over here. No fulcrum point. We haven't had in a minute either because we have multiple volcanoes that are thoroughly active here on the Kamchatka Peninsula doing their job. Quick little magnitude check here, 5.4 with the tsunami alert. That was earlier today. No, that was, earlier today, the 21st. But probably came in a little bit stronger than 5.4 if they're freaking out about a tsunami. But relieves a lot of pressure right here. And you can see a couple islands built up out of the rise. this big underwater mountain structure right here. The tips of it bust out through the surface of the water, a little here and a little here, but on the flanks of this big mountain structure down there, deep within it, 5.4, that's an uptick in magnitude for that region, you guys. Quick here, 2.4, nothing out on the plateau today. Very small micro quaking. Nothing of much magnitude in our fulcrum point region at all. I think a lot of our energy went bingo right there. Okay, coming in here, we're looking for volcanic or earthquake activity at volcanic sites. These are just little mouse parts. Nothing at Rainier, St. Helens. So a little reduction of pressure in this region. No earthquakes at these volcanoes today. We did see some SO2 emission sites out there, but we have a 2.1 here, that side of the fulcrum. Pretty much matching, matching magnitude on the other side. Imagine if you had like a week's worth of sleep for a month. A lot of micro quaking in this region right here. So that's relieving pressure in the region right there as well. See all these faults coming down through here. Ridges, pressure ridges from years and years of pressure. Mountains actually push up. 1.3, there's something else hiding in there. Okay. All right, so very low magnitude, low energy coming into the Bay Area. That's good. Getting relieved as little ones all the way down the chain here. I don't see anything really too important to... Oh, here we go. Now, this is a recent quake, but I want the one behind it first. The 3 at the surface here at Malibu, and just a little 1.3 after it. But this is your typical plate boundary fault activity right here. And what we're seeing in this region, come back here now, and we can have the ocean temperatures right now. Back up to California. To our little patch down here in this bay. Okay, we saw a yellow uptick. It's actually kind of going back to red. I don't know if this is doing it justice. Here we go. So yeah, the yellow that flared up has kind of gone back down to red, indicating a little less pressure in that region. But that's why we're seeing this activity out here on this peninsula. It's part of this big old egg-shaped bulge right here, and it's right on the boundary. It comes out into the water, comes back down. So right on the boundary of that is this Malibu quake, right on the boundary of this thing. So it's not a diverse quake. I would love to call it that, but it is a diverse quake, but it has a reason because of the pressure underneath, okay? It's not your typical earthquake activity that we see, so it is kind of diverse, and the reason why is because of the pressure that's underneath. Say it twice, Brian. Sometimes I repeat myself. All right, let's move on into 2.9, little reality check here in Texas. 2.9 over there. Oh, fairly decent little swarm coming out of this area, relieving pressure in the area. 2.2, so 2.9 was the biggest. So a little bit, man-made perforations in the crust are allowed to relieve energy too, 2.9, okay, that was the other one. Now, taking a peek around a little bit in southern Texas, not too bad. Same magnitude, 2.9, 2.9, 2.9, 2.9. Now, this will be a little different, but this is up in Oklahoma. Nothing at our fulcrum point on the New Madrid right up here. Okay. Then, nothing up the Craton, and I think we're done. We did our magnitude check. A little bit of Hawaii real quick. You can see it's still having quake activity. We saw the fissure open up and the curtain, lava curtain, happen here, which relieves a lot of pressure. Okay. When you have a fissure, a crack in the Earth's crust open up, it's a crack in the shell of the egg. And guess what came out? The guts of the egg, or the magma, the guts of the planet, came out through the crack, and pressure that was down below shoved it out. So it launched up into the air. That's what pressure does. Alrighty. Yep, we're done. Okay, so let me clear out a couple of these. And we'll move on to our volcano report. You guys are being patient. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, 36. Can you see it up there? 30. Get out of the way. All right, fine. Get out of the way. So we'll get that up there again. 36 erupting, 32 in warning that are active. There are actually more erupting than there are active by 4, but still there's more. All right. So total of 68 altogether, either erupting or, pretty active. So 68, that's a lot. If I told you 7 years ago when all this happened to me that you'd have 68 volcanoes 7 years later, you would have said, Brian, you're crazy. And I would have said, yeah, you were right. I am crazy about you. Here we go. Ibu, IBU, I'll be with you at 8,000 feet. Okay. Luatobi, 10,000. Semaru, 14. Okay, that's on Java. So blast coming out of Java. It can go 15. We've seen 15 out of it, so we might see a little uptick there. Actually, we don't have a new round of pressure, so we'll see. Ducono, 8,000. Santa Guido, 14. Fuego, no seen insat. Sangay, 20,000. Reventador, sporadic ash emissions. Sabancaya, 22. Sabancaya is usually 24. It's a little bit lower there, maybe. And that was just in the last few minutes. Let's get into the 21st, which is today. Well, now yesterday. Why? Well, because time flies at this channel. Okay, here we go. Yeah. The map of insanity. I show you the lists of insanity. This is the lists on the map. So there's your list of insanity in map form. The map of insanity. And don't forget about Erebus down in Antarctica. Here we go. The new one on the list, Canalone. Well, it doesn't say anything, but it does talk about detected an increased amount of sulfur dioxide. Wonder why that is. Is that like that gas that comes out of volcanoes? Yep. Detected increases amounts of sulfur dioxide concentrations from Canalone. Pressure building. You see it coming out. Here we go. Ibu. IBU. We were just at 8,000 feet. Here we were earlier at 10,000. So we were hanging out together at 10,000 feet. Now it's down to 8,000. Luatobi, so a drop in pressure. We saw an increase because Ibu's usually 8,000. So when you see it up to 10, that shows an increase, and now it's back down to 8. So we had a little increase in pressure. Got exposed to, or relieved, let's just say. Okay, Luatobi, Semaru, 14. Is it a raven or a crow? Well, depends on how you look at it. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? The rooster came first. That's why you couldn't answer it. The rooster came first. 14,000. Ducono, 9. Kilauea, back on the map here. Hawaiian Volcanic Observatory reported that eruption along with volcanic tremor began to decrease. Okay, good. Popocatépetl, Santa Guido, 14,000. Fuego on the list, but not reporting. Sangay 20, or 19. Reventador back on the map at 15. Back on the list. Sabancaya again, 22,000. So, is it a raven or a crow? Doesn't matter really. There are much more important things than that. Spending your time deciding that is kind of a waste of important intellect. All right, let me let this kind of load up really quick right there. We got bigger fish to fry. We don't need the crow eating our fish when we're frying it, right? Or raven, whichever it is. Okay, so let that play. Looks like we got a little clearing there for a minute there, but we do still see these low pressure things coming in, and of course these hurricanes coming through too. So, but let that load up really quick. All right, let's get into our little forecast here. So, supposedly no geomagnetic enhancement, all right, but if we were to get some on the 22nd, that would be current conditions right now, a little severe weather in the panhandle up here coming into Canada too. So there's your morning time of the 22nd. Now they're calling for no geomagnetic enhancement, so we're not going to do a forecast with one. But if we were to have an unexpected storm, there is a prime target for any kind of enhancement. So if there was an unexpected thing, it would be unexpected in that region. Expectedly unexpected in that region, okay? So, noontime, a little intensification with just on the map already, right there in Wisconsin, Michigan area. Now going convection there. Oh, down here in Texas. A little bit in there, a little bit up in there. We got this low spinning out there, but there's the nighttime of the 22nd, morning of the 23rd, noon, convection, nighttime. Morning of the 24th, noon, convection, nighttime. 25, noon, here comes this. Okay, and you guys up in Canada, watch out too. So, noon, convection of the 25th, nighttime. Now, we've got this little course kind of coming up into the armpit of Florida there. 5 a.m. So, there's the morning of the 26th, noon, with a 950 millibar. That'll change, but convection crossing the peninsula at convection might be pretty dangerous. Meanwhile, you see what branches out ahead. Look. Let's come back to this. As these air masses pinch off up here, see how they're pulling severe weather up towards them, and then it hooks up with this hurricane and start shunting some of that up towards the north there. See that arrow kind of coming up and pointing like it's an arrow coming out of this thing. So, yeah, a little outward thrust or forward forward arm or forward branch of the storm moving out, propagating out in front of it, hooking up with cold air coming in from Canada, could cause little severe storms out in front of it. See how it comes in, hooks up with it, and pushes that stuff up into there? So that would potentially be around the morning of the 27th right there. If this model were to kind of continue along that line, noon. Code, let's pray that it doesn't happen. Convection, nighttime, morning of the 28th. Noon, convection, nighttime. Out of there by the 28th, there's 29, noon, convection, nighttime, 30, noon, convection, nighttime. The first, noon, convection, nighttime. Second, noon, convection, nighttime. Okay, so we're so far out there now, but as this thing comes around like October 5th, maybe, that's way out there, but coming up through the Caribbean where I showed you all that hot water, anything coming into this area, it's going to see like bombogenesis, the enhancement of storms. Boom, boom. And that would be around the noontime of October 5th. Convection again, right there on the panhandle or on the peninsula. And noontime the 6th. Skirting the coast like that. Wow. All right, so there is your forecast here for the next couple of days. Anything past 3 days is kind of out of question. Very, very subject to change because of activity on the sun enhancing, changing all kinds of weather. And don't forget, we got spiritual warfare going on in the weather. Yeah, so all of it's subject to change at any moment. God decides to change it. All right, so that's good. Let's get on with our spiritual report really quick because all this stuff can be very disturbing. Okay, when you realize the gravity of the situation you're sitting in right now, I would be very concerned if I were you. But most people are gonna losing their marbles right now, while you are still being able to maintain composure using well some of the tricks that we've not tricks, the disciplines that we use taught to us by the master. Okay, April 17th, 2020. This happened in the sky. 2,000-year-old prophecy came true on Easter. All right, so there's one image. What was the other one we're going to pull up, Lord? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, right there. The Chinese saw this face on their satellites and it scared them. They have good reason to be scared, too. See that crazed eye? There's the face of Francine. And this one. It's Jose on a stick. Now, that's the one I was looking for right there. Okay. I showed this to my best friend the other day. He's been my lifelong friend since we were kids. And I showed him this picture. And he didn't even recognize me. And I thought I was the one getting Alzheimer's, huh? Oh, no, I'm just saying. It's funny. So there's another image right there. Is that coming up all right? Oh, well. Maybe we'll brighten that one when we come to it. So, and then one more. Where is it?
As a new mom of two, I'm so glad that I found the world's first
Birth control? Oh, never mind. Sorry, it's just a long ad and it's got all kinds of. Wow, really, you guys? 10 minutes worth of ad to pull up a video that I want to pause anyways. We're going to freeze frame this image, but thankfully you guys get your last little bucks in before it's all done. Get your last little pennies in there, YouTube. Make sure every little ripoff and scam artist gets all their little funding and stuff before this shit show's over. Okay, now we're gonna do a little bit of adjustment there and some reading. Okay, most of you, we don't have to explain. You know why we're here. Take a deep breath. Hold on tight. Put your feet up. Relax. You're among friends. In the last couple of weeks here, my son and I have picked up a new hobby, and we've met some new friends along the way, and it was a good reminder of the blessing of new friends. And every once in a while, I'll come along somebody, a good person that's a good-hearted person, well-intentioned, and they're few and far between, but then you realize that there's still good people out there, and it's nice to acquire new friends. And I always kind of like to thank the Lord. Thank you for a new friend. You know, 'cause those are hard commodity to find too. Um, so being the raw exposed nerve that I am, I can feel you guys' anxiety building again. Okay. I see what happened over in Lebanon. Okay. I know. I know what's going on. Okay. But I know also your anxiety builds when you see that, especially when you understand the repercussions. Man, everybody's getting real anxious, and I can sense it. So, out of this, I got something for you. When anxiety is great within you, turn to me for consolation. Now, this word consolation, there are other words for the word consolation that define it. Another word for it is comfort or compassion or empathy or help, encouragement, reassurance, and relief. Okay, those are other words for it, but all those other words all encompass that one word. And all those words are traits of our Savior: comfort, compassion, empathy, encouragement, reassurance, help, and relief. Right? Those are all attributes. So, those are the attributes that are the definitions of the word consolation. So when your anxiety is great within you, turn to me for consolation, comfort, compassion, empathy. Turn to me for help. Turn to me for encouragement. Turn to me for reassurance, and turn to me for relief. I gladly provide all of this and more for my followers. Yet, your natural tendency when you're feeling anxious is to focus on yourself and on your problems. The more you do this, the more you forget about me and all the help I can supply. This worldly focus, it only increases your anxiety. So it's like, remember I tell you, you're plugged in. How long are you going to stay plugged in? Unplug from the media, unplug from the drama for a minute, right? Even though this channel, we open up with some very, touchy subjects, but that's why you stick around for the end, is for real comfort, for real compassion. I've been through this, what you guys are going through. I have real empathy. I have experience in this, so I have real help. I've been through this and found what encourages me, so I have real encouragement. I've been delivered several times out of life-threatening situations, even being stuck at the bottom of this mountain. So I have experience, so I can reassure you. And I know that when you grasp who I am, you get relief. I am consolation. I am comfort, compassion, empathy, help, encouragement, reassurance, and relief. And I gladly provide all of this for my followers. So you're so focused on the worldly things that the more you focus on it, the more your anxiety increases. So you got to learn to unplug. You take a moment, sit beside, have a moment, pray. Jesus, be with me in this moment. I trust you. Jesus, help me in this moment. Any short little prayers that take your mind off of the big old nuclear bomb that went off over there. It's not a nuclear bomb, but the bomb that everybody's worrying about, right? So take your mind off of that. You come to me for consolation, which is the relief, the encouragement. It doesn't matter what happens over there. It still does not change your destiny forever. You are locked in for eternity. Anything that happens here on this lowly little rock does not change your eternity. So that provides reassurance and relief. What else did it connect to? Oh, so so when this is important, the more you are plugged in, the more you forget about me and the help that I can supply. The more you're plugged in, it increases your anxiety. So, and then let the discomfort you feel when you're plugged in, it got you all frayed and frazzled, that discomfort. Let that discomfort you feel during those times alert you to your neglect of me. Whisper my name and invite me back into your difficulties. Just realize, whoops, I forgot. Whisper me right back in, we're right back in the game again. And I know it's hard to think about all day long. There's so many distractions going on and yanking you from this direction to that direction. And you got the Schumann going on in the background, right? So that's why this stuff is important. You take a moment to step aside from your problems. Quit feeling anxious about your problems. Focus on me, and that will provide the reassurance and relief that you need at that moment. Yeah, let that discomfort remind you when you're uncomfortable and you're irritated. Let that remind you, hey, time to get right back to it. Seek my face, finding comfort in my compassion and empathy. Look to me for encouragement, reassurance, and help. I know all about your problems, and I also know the best way to deal with them. So, as you relax in my loving presence, I strengthen you and provide relief from your anxiety. Don't I? That's why you stick around to this part of the show, is for that relief from your anxiety. I didn't do a show last night, and your guys' anxiety went right through the roof. Dang it, I missed the show. Oh, did you do one? What? You guys' anxiety, okay? So when that happens, seek my face, finding comfort in my compassion. Look to me for encouragement. Look to me for reassurance. Ask for help. I know all about your problems. So when you let me in, that's the best way to deal with them. And you guys are doing awesome. You're relaxing in my loving presence as I strengthen you right now and provide that relief you need from your anxiety. And I reassure you that nothing in all creation can separate you from my love. My consolation is full of blessings, and it brings joy to your soul. Yeah, my consolation brings joy to your soul, doesn't it? Especially in these times. Nobody else has this joy that transcends their circumstances right now. They think they might. They're trying to, but you guys have really found it. So, now that you've really found it, give up the illusion of being in control of your life. When things are going smoothly, it's easy to feel as if you're in charge, but the more you perceive yourself as your own master, well, the more comfortable you become in this role, and the harder you will fall. So if you think you're the master and you got all this, well, good luck. You're going to find out you're going to fall harder. So I want you to enjoy times of smooth sailing and be thankful for them, but don't become addicted to the sense of mastery over your life and don't consider it the norm. Storms will come and uncertainties will loom on the horizon. And if you cling to control and feel entitled to having things go your way, you're likely to sink when the difficulties come. Okay? When the difficulties come, you are likely to sink if you cling to control and feel entitled to having things go your way. Okay? I'm battling with this stuff right now. Today, yesterday, I still have to go through the trials too. So when I go through something, I recognize what it is, I find that help, I take my best shot at salvation, at salvaging that day, and then I recognize the storms will come. And if you cling to that control, you're likely to sink when the difficulties come, and the difficulties are coming. So let go of having all the control. You got every reason to just relax, let go. Nothing you can do about it. When the moment you realize that you're not in control, your anxiety kind of goes away. You know that there's somebody who loves you, that you can trust, who's got your best intentions. Okay? So, if you cling to control and feel entitled, you're likely to sink when difficulties come. And when difficulties come, you're likely to sink if you cling to control. I am training you to trust in me at all times. I know it's hard, but I'm training you to trust in me at all times, for I am your refuge. I use adversity to set you free from the illusion of being in control. Because you think you're in control. You have an illusion of being in control. And I'm setting you free from the illusion of being in control. And I use adversity to set you free. Don't I? Your overcoming adversity is setting you free from the illusion of being in control. And when your circumstances and your future are full of uncertainties, which they are, because your circumstances and your future at this moment are full of what? Ooh, uncertainties. Well, there's only one certain thing, and that's me. So look to me and find your security in knowing me, the master who is sovereign over the storms of your life, over everything. Living in close communication with me can be a foretaste of heaven. It's a wonderful experience, but it requires a level of spiritual and mental concentration that is extremely challenging. I'm training you to live this way. It's an endeavor that requires persistent effort and determination. Rather than detracting from what you're doing, your closeness to me will fill your activities with vibrant life. So, whatever you do it for me, do it with me, do it through me, do it in me, and even menial tasks will glow with the joy of my presence when you do them with me, for me, together. When we're doing them together, all of a sudden, you get this glow of joy in the menial tasks because you're in my presence doing them. And you realize, oh, dude, this isn't just taking out the trash. I'm taking out the trash for the Lord, for the Almighty. Yeah, it's all because all of a sudden your menial tasks become huge, huge miracle, not miracles, but huge. They're a lot bigger than you think. They're not menial. that the last one? Does that connect to that? Yeah, I guess we can finish with this. Okay. Now, we see all this stuff going on around the world. Remember your anxiety. Do not be afraid. Okay, I'm right here hanging out with you. Let me see here. Let's do this to close out to this one. Because this is what my face looks like right now with the book light shining on me while I'm looking down at my desk here. That's out by the moon. Okay, and we're going to be getting a new satellite, another moon, huh? I wonder if it looks like me. Maybe it's my twin, I don't know. Anyways, do not be afraid. Okay? Do not be afraid, for I am close beside you, guiding all the way. And though I am always with you, you are often unaware of my presence. And fear can provide a wake-up call to your heart, alerting you to reconnect with me. This stuff that's going on around the world is that wake-up call of fear to wake up your heart, alerting you to reconnect with me. So when you feel your anxiety rising, take time to relax and let the light of my presence shine upon you and within you. And as you rest in the warmth of my love light, that cold, hard fear will start to melt away. Respond to my love by affirming your love for me and your trust in me. And remember that I am a guarding and guiding God. If you knew how much harm I protect you from, you'd be astonished. Then you'd see how much I love you. Then you'd be like, oh, he's guarding. If you saw what I was guarding you from, you'd be astonished. The most important protection, though, I provide is to guard your soul, which is eternal. And because you are here at this channel, makes you a follower, right? You follow on YouTube. Because you are my follower, your soul is secure in me. No one, I repeat, no one can snatch you out of my hand. I lead you as you go along your pathway toward heaven. Your pathway is towards heaven, isn't it? You see signs already. You're seeing foretastes of heaven. This is to encourage you, to spur you on, and to remind you that I protect you from things that would astonish you. I provide more than protection. I guard your soul also, which is eternal. And because you are my follower, your soul is secure in me, and no one can snatch you out of my hand. I lead you as you go along your pathway, where? Towards heaven. And I will be your guide even to the end. All right, that was it. Psalms 23:4. Even when walking through the dark valley of death, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me, guiding all the way. Same thing was in Psalms, huh? John 10:28. I give them eternal life, and they shall never perish. No one can snatch them out of my hand. That came out of the book of John in the Bible, huh? The same thing came out of me, huh? And for this God is our God forever and ever, and he will be our guide even to the end. God, I could have swore I just read that I will be your guide even to the end. Starting to match the Bible there. Pretty strange how that happens, huh? Well, maybe because it's who I am. And you know what? I gotta go, you guys. I have so much more to do, and I'm running out of time. So I gotta go. I love you guys. I will be back though. Okay. I love you. I miss you. You guys are caught up with me in the clouds. This is what I look like. And here's a crown over my head. It's me coming with power and great glory. Happened on Easter 2020. You're caught up like a good book, like a good song, like a good TikTok thread. You get caught up in it. You're carried away. You're taken away from your circumstances for the moment. You're in another realm with me in the clouds here. So much like a good movie or a good book, you're caught up with me in the clouds. This is me in the clouds, and you're intrigued. You're caught up in it. You're caught up with me in the clouds. And I made a place where we could meet. A live stream on YouTube where I can meet my family in the air. See, I can't come over to your house right now. I'm almost partially paralyzed here, so I can't really make it over and come give you a big hug, but I can through the air. All right. So I like to meet my followers in the air, which is in the air of cyberspace live on YouTube. Okay. So you are caught up with me in the clouds. We are in the air. You met me in the air, and we had our little family meeting together, right? You guys that are practicing your discipline, just keep going. I know you're seeing success, and then some days you don't see success, but it's still there. Okay? So don't give up. Just keep going forward. Okay? You can't go backwards. There's no regrets. You got to keep going forward. So use the disciplines to keep moving forward the best you can. And it's progress, not perfection. When we work together is perfection. Okay, so work with me. I'll help you salvage your day so you can bring this light shining in your face into other people's lives. In these dark days, you are to bring the light into other people's lives. All right, and just keep going. Do the best you can with the time that you have left. Okay, and seriously, it's not like you know, you want real results, we'll do it for real. You want half-ass results, we'll do it half-ass. But give it a shot and try to do the best you can with the time remaining, okay? I sure love you guys. I miss you guys. And when you see stuff in the news, remember, you choose to plug into it. You can unplug from it. Even if it's, very earth-shattering news, it still does not change eternity. It's just more foretastes of heaven telling you you're getting closer to your destiny. You should rejoice when you see that kind of stuff go off. I know it sounds crazy, but that means you're getting closer to your victory. When you see things from my perspective, you will have a easier time with your circumstances. You'll be able to breathe easier. You'll have that peace, my peace, that transcends all your circumstances. That's it for tonight. I love you all. I gotta go. I miss you all. I gotta go. Until my next show, I gotta go, but I will be back. I gotta go, but I will be back. I am already back, and I am still to come. Till then, bye bye. Love you.